Hi, Crypto Devs. Liarko here. And in today's DevTalk, I have Daniel here with me. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Marco. How's it going? Thanks for having me today.
That's my pleasure, as always. And we're going to talk about something that I really want to ask you because, you're not only a great developer, you are also, and probably mainly, a great artist. And so I really wanted to ask you about what should an artist look for when it wants to maybe pick the software tool to create these artworks. Is there any suggestion that you would like to share?
Yeah, stick to pen and paper. just kidding. I prefer pen and paper, by the way. But as an artist working with some tools, I can maybe name a few tools that I use, and mainly focusing on Photoshop. But there's a few different tools that artists can look at, right? I love the Adobe suite. I think it's a very well laid out, infrastructure. It's interoperable in some cases, and it's really up to the artist yourself, right? If you are someone that does do drawings, you want to modify them in some way, Photoshop is great. It's a raster-based program. Raster-based meaning that it's pixelated and pixels that it's working with. And if you're someone that's like an illustrator or someone that wants to, do big things and put it on billboards, I would recommend Illustrator, which is a vector-based, mathematically calculated formulas for how they produce images. But I mainly make use of Photoshop, man. I don't really have any other preferred tool. I guess, Marco, you've also worked with some digital stuff. What programs have you worked on before that's also image-based rendering software or manipulation software?
Yeah, thank you for asking, but to be honest, I'm not an artist at all. I don't figure myself as an artist, but I had the chance to work together with some artists, and I had to deal with some software like Photoshop, as you said. I also the suite from Serif. It's called Affinity. They have Affinity Photo, which is kind of like Photoshop. Affinity Designer, I think it's called, for vector graphics. And they also have Affinity Publisher for maybe something like books. I think also Adobe has a dedicated software for that.
Yeah, they do.
It's probably InDesign
They do have InDesign, I believe. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But, I don't use those other tools from Adobe. I just use Photoshop. But I also realized that Photoshop is a subscription-based product, right? So, if you're an artist and you're just starting off and you really want to do NFT art, and so on, I would recommend maybe going for a software like GIMP, right? GIMP, I think, is a free, also raster-based, I believe, but you can do shapes and vectors. But try that out because that is a totally free version, of Photoshop, so to speak. It also can do all the stuff that Photoshop can. And I believe that's a big, great alternative that I just wanted to mention for if anyone wants to do it and doesn't have the funds to get Photoshop off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. I used GIMP a lot. As a developer, it can open also Photoshop files, so it's pretty flexible. I'm talking about GIMP in this case. It's really powerful, and the fact that it's free, it's open source, is absolutely amazing. So I really appreciate the fact that the community is bringing out that kind of tools, and I use that a lot as a developer. As I said, I just bumped into these other softwares from other companies because maybe I needed some extra features that were not available, or I think that the case of GIMP, it was not because of GIMP. I used Inkscape as a software for vector graphics in the past, and unfortunately with the latest Macs it had some issues, so I had to find an alternative. But also Inkscape was absolutely great. When I used that in the past with Ubuntu on Linux, it was running amazingly. So another great software for artists, in my opinion.
Yeah, software. At the end of the day, and I think we're directing this to NFT artworks, right? So at the end of the day, when you get to a generative kind of project, I believe PNGs work the best. Yes, you can do it vector-based as well. But, with vectors, you only get that limit of kind of gradients, and I love, not gradients, but I love the fact that you can work that scale and it looks smooth and it doesn't have those posterized edges. So I believe Photoshop is a really good tool to use software-wise. And just for interest sake, I recently got this thing for myself. Wipe it off a bit. But this is a Wacom little tablet, right? And it's one of the cheapest ones you can get. But I specifically got this because I felt like, I love Photoshop very much, but I miss the fact that I can quickly sketch something in there. And if you invest in something like this, especially for your NFT artworks, I think it's very cool because it will allow you to digitally draw with the stylist, or you can use a tablet as well. It's not software, Marco, but it's just something that I also wanted to mention that I use as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. We are throwing a lot of brands and stuff, but nothing is sponsored, of course. But anyway, I totally agree. I had the chance to try out those kind of Wacom products and also from other brands that were absolutely amazing to work with. And also tablets, of course. With tablets, not every tablet is good for that kind of thing. You have to pick someone maybe in the price range that can allow for a smooth operation with pens and stuff like that. But yeah, they're also incredibly cool tools for designers. And yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, Daniel, for these suggestions and also these insights from an artist. And just one little question, and maybe we can touch this topic in another video. Is it important also to pick the right tools, not just for creating the art, but also for dealing with maybe the trades, libraries, and stuff like that, to get them to the chain, actually? Like the stuff that we are doing. There are so many tools around that are coming with different features, different stuff. From an artist, are they all the same, or is there anything that you would like to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it at the trades part, of your collections, the tools won't really matter because once you export them to PNGs, you'll most likely just, have images that has names to them, which will be data that you use. So as long as you can get at the end of the day to a PNG, and keep in mind that, with the generative tools that we've made, it needs to kind of align right on top of each other. So there's some finesse and some way of doing it, which we explain in videos, like you said, Marco. But I would say it doesn't really matter. The only reason why I think Photoshop is a great option is that it's a kind of an industry standard for any agency to work with Photoshop. So if you're an artist and you might get an agency on board that helps you finalize the project, you already have your files in a workable format. And as you mentioned as well, GIMP can take Photoshop files. So I believe that using Photoshop is also, not just beneficial in doing it work-wise and keeping my layers organized, because you need to keep your layers organized, but you can obviously hand it over very easily as well. And that's why I prefer using Photoshop as well in that regard. When it comes to trades, we're busy refining our art engine. As you know, the Marco has touched on the stuff we'll be doing this year. And we'll certainly try and make it easier and incorporate some of those tools with plugins to kind of generate your artworks on the fly. Marco said it's not sponsorships, Wacom, Photoshop, all these kind of companies, not sponsorships. But it would be great. So if you're from Photoshop, hook us up. Anyway, but yeah, that's what my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much. And I think that's all for this video. Thank you very much, Daniel, for being here and for sharing your secrets.
Yeah, thank you so much. Not so much secrets, but it was lovely talking to you, Marco.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. And subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Daniel as well. And see you soon. Bye.
Cheers, guys.